Copytraders Club Season 3 and Episode 10. And today we will check in with Liziapukaja, aka Levente Lavrinyuk. Welcome.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Still alive.
Still alive. You're in the Dominican Republic.
Exactly.
Now, the last time we spoke, it was an audio version, getting to know you, over an hour long. I'll link to that in the show notes. And in that, I think we spoke about you moving to Mexico with your family. Talk us through what happened.
Yeah, basically, so we are one of those people who just can't sit tight and stay in one place for too long. So yeah, I think at the time when we last spoke, during that podcast, we've been in Mexico. And since then, yeah, a lot changed. We went back to Europe for a while. And then because we love the whole Caribbean vibes, this whole lifestyle that the Caribbean can give, we did a little research and we ended up here in the Dominican Republic. But again, because we can't stay too long in one place, the next stop will be the Canary Islands in a couple of months' time. So wow. If I'm gonna have the pleasure to talk to you again, then again it will be from yet another place.
Cool. And how do you find Dominican Republic?
It's a mixed bag, really. I mean, you know, for many people, most people might immediately think that white sands and palm trees and coconuts, and that's, you know, that's life, which is true, which is part of the package, and it's brilliant. We really love that side of the DR. But also, you know, when you go to a place like this and you're not a tourist, so you're not going for a few weeks vacation, but you try to live there. Obviously, there are a few, how should I put this, unique sides of a Caribbean life, that the infrastructure, how things work here. Everyone is on island time, which is, again, can be a good thing, but sometimes, especially if you work like I do, it can be a bad thing. So again, it's a mixed bag.
Yeah, I don't know very much about Dominican Republic. All I know is it's a popular place for the single gentleman.
It is. The town where we live, I would say, is perfectly okay for families, you know, all sorts of people. It's very big for water sports and surfing and kite surfing and this kind of stuff. But literally just next door, 10 miles away, we got a town that is famous or infamous for, let's say, accommodating for a different kind of clientele or different kind of services.
Lots of white-haired American men walking about the beach with a very particular look in their eye.
Yes. Lots of, let's just put it this way, lots of sugar daddies around.
Okay. All right. So let's get on with it. Here we are. We've just finished Q1 of 2023. No one seems to be able to clearly define this market. Lots of conflicting signals. What's your take on where we are?
I sort of saw this question coming, so I tried to think about my answer and, you know, how to kind of sum up my take on the current market. And this might not be what your listeners and followers might want to hear. This is something that I presume no one who has skin in the game and invested in today's market wants to hear. But personally, I have a fairly bearish take and outlook on where things can go from here. Mainly because if you zoom out and look at the big picture of not only the stock market but the underlying global economy, is that there are three key risks right now investors face. First of all, the apparent cracks in the monetary system, the financial system in the United States. When banks go down, then no one seems to be able to tell, you know, what the right move from the Fed should be in this kind of environment, because it's fairly clear by now that the Fed dug itself into a hole from which it's extremely hard to dig itself out, because it seems like they are between a rock and a hard place, really. If they stop interest rate rises, interest rate hikes, and they just reverse their actions, that will probably keep fueling inflation. But if they keep on this trajectory of fighting inflation and keep raising interest rates, then we can see, and we can, you know, fairly clearly tell what's going to happen then, again, for those treasuries or for the assets that the banks are sitting on. So that's key. That's risk number one. Risk number two is that the apparent growing geopolitical tensions all around the place. Talking about the Ukraine, obviously the focal point of this is the Ukraine-Russia conflict. But if you look around the world, the US versus China, China's steps to sort of to grow and become the world's #1 economic and maybe military superpower. So again, I don't want to elaborate on this too much, but anyone who follows the news understands what I'm talking about. So there is a growing tension all around the place. And lastly, we still got those, again, increasingly apparent risks posed by climate change, droughts, water issues, all sorts of things that extremely hard to accurately, forecast what kind of consequences this could pose on the global economy. So if I look at these three things together, you ask me, is this a reason for optimism, a reason for pessimism? I think the picture is quite clear.
Okay. All right. And Levi, you are one of the small number of PIs I've had the good fortune to have copied in the past. And when I checked on your performance stats since, it's fair to say it hasn't been a terribly pretty story. And I see your portfolio has more red than the closing scene of a Tarantino movie. So
that's a good way to put it, yes.
Presumably your copier numbers have dropped off a fair bit. Tell me about your experience of that, how you cope with it all, how you keep your emotions in check, all of that stuff.
My emotions have been surgically removed when I was 5. So, no, so jokes aside, I mean, I made this very clear to my copiers from the very beginning, and this is something I try to make clear for myself. I really try to keep my emotions outside of anything I do with my money or other people's money, or when it comes to investing. So emotions are the worst possible counsel when it comes to making investment decisions. Luckily, and it's something that makes me very grateful, that yes, you're right. Many people turned away, but not as many as I would have expected to abandon the copy and say, okay, enough is enough. Despite, again, the way how you put it perfectly describes the situation, that the red is the main color scheme of the portfolio right now. And so to answer that part of the question, emotionally, the only emotion I get out of this is that I'm grateful and happy that people still stick around. So if anyone listens who is my copier, it's a huge thank you. But I also, I don't want to live in an illusion that I also understand that many people probably just wait until they get back to break even or maybe a slight profit, or the reason why they don't stop the copy is not because they like me so much or they trust me so much. It's most likely because people usually don't realize their losses unless it's absolutely necessary. And this actually takes us to the whole portfolio outlook. That yes, things are red, but I go through my portfolio on a weekly basis, looking to the companies I hold on a weekly basis to see if there is any fundamental changes in the outlook of those businesses that might make me to decide, okay, enough is enough. It's time to realize those losses and move on. But so far, there are a few that I keep a close eye on and might walk away in some point. And in that case, I will notify my copiers that, look, guys, I'm going to take these losses because the landscape changed. But so far, I'm happy with those reds, because again, and the other side of the coin is that if I look at other portfolios that are more heavy on tech companies or other assets that being punished even more badly by the market than my assets, because again, I'm one of those unpopular investors who invests in unpopular stuff from oil to commodities and these kind of things. I think I still hold on just a tiny bit better than the majority.
Okay. Now we may come to some individual positions during the course of the question. Sorry if you can hear dogs barking here. But the point of the check-in is that most of the questions are selected randomly. So let's go over to our cutting edge technology here and choose a random number. And I click this button, 27.
27. Hit me.
Where on the spectrum are you from introversion to extroversion?
I'm right in the dead middle, like exactly on the middle. Introversion or extroversion. I came across this kind of test, of personality test, that my wife said, you know what, it's amazing because she completed it and it was 99% accurate. So I gave it a go. And it came back with this exact result on the scale of introvert or extrovert, 50%. So there are situations when I'm totally an extrovert and I love to be in the center of attention, inside of friends or places or situations, and then there are other times when I just step back and I just do things in my head. I'm happy that way.
Very good. Next random question is number 5. Tell us about your future plans as a popular investor.
Okay, now that's a good one. As a popular, so obviously there are a couple of angles to come to this question. With the portfolio itself, as an investor, I plan to do some, I wouldn't call it like a major changes, but definitely a housekeeping to better align my portfolio to reflect those risks that I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, as well as just my overall outlook in the market, what direction the market might take from here. And the easy answer for this question would be, of course, I'm aiming for the Elite Pro at the Black Star. This is my plan. This is where I want to be in tomorrow. But of course, it's not about what I want and what I'm aiming for. It's also about how I do perform, because how I do perform pretty much dictates how I fare as a popular investor. Another plan is, and this is more like something that I have much more control over, is that back in the day, I would say 6 months ago, 12 months ago, I had much more time to keep my copiers up to date, not only about what I'm doing, why I'm doing, what the portfolio is doing, but also just with all sorts of shenanigans, sharing my thoughts on the market, on certain industries. So my plan is that hopefully going into next quarter and beyond, I'm going to be able to return to this practice, because I have to admit in the last couple of months, I wasn't able to share these thoughts as frequently as I otherwise wish to. So that's definitely also a part of the falls under the umbrella of what are my plans as a PI. And I'm also still contemplating the idea to start a blog or a vlog where I can, again, update my copiers or followers or just general, anyone who is interested in what I want to say, to give them more detailed information, more insight, because, and this is a hidden request towards eToro. If anyone watching this from eToro, that those 5,000 characters per post is not sufficient, especially for a guy like me who can elaborate a lot. So I would say these are with broad strokes. These are the plans.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I'd like to ask you about relevant to those. If we can just move away from the random questions. There was an incident that occurred between the last time we spoke and today, when I think you added money and you sort of did some sort of things that were maybe quite sudden, and I can't quite remember what it was all about. Can you just refresh my memory on that? I think you added funds without sufficient notice or something.
Yes, I remember. I think there was one occasion when I saw. Wait, now you got me with my pants down, because I'm not able to recall all the surroundings and the details and the particulars of that decision. But I clearly remember the takeaway, the moral lesson was that some of my copiers, one or two guys in particular, got quite vocal about their this disagreement or dissatisfaction with the decision that I made, that that adding funds that messed up with the copy I think the bottom line was there that I understood their concerns. I thought that adding these funds and going after that opportunity that was ultimately the reason in the first place to add funds instead of freeing up funds from the existing portfolio and existing positions seemed to be the better way forward. But after seeing and better understanding their reactions and the reasoning behind why it wasn't good for them, I understood that this is one time, and promise, guys, it's never going to happen again. But on the other hand, I also have to say, and this might not be closely related to that particular situation, but still falls in some ways in the same category, that since then, I also experienced a few very interesting anomalies when it comes to how my copier's portfolio is being in sync or out of sync with my trades and my positions, and it falls down to eToro's technical ways of running the platform, because there have been instances when my portfolio just turned empty. Like, from everyone else out there, they looked at my portfolio, they were copying me and said, you hold no positions in your portfolio. So that this can't be. I mean, nothing changed. So I had to be involved in a few back and forth emails with eToro to get this solved. But the bottom line, the point I'm trying to make is that sometimes it's a little bit difficult, even for me as a PI, to keep track of how these syncs and out of syncs work between my copiers' portfolios, because there is a huge unknown in the equation, and that is the platform itself, which I'm pretty sure eToro works and that does everything to make it as smooth and as accurate as possible. But again, sometimes it makes me feel I'm flying a little bit blind when it comes to these kind of things. Okay, let's move it on. The only other thing I was going to mention was what put me onto you in the first place, I think, was the Masked Trader, that YouTube channel. Do you remember that crazy guy with a mask? Yes. He was smoking big fat doobies, and he seems to have disappeared off the face of the earth. Anyway, next question. Number 20. How many friends and family copy you? Maybe one, but he's a chartered financial advisor, so I think it's a compliment. So the thing is, if he still copies, we are not in touch. He's a very good friend, but we both lead quite busy lives, work, family, etc. So we rarely talk. And you just reminded me that I probably need to hit him up and check in about how is he doing. Yeah, but, when you're a PI, you can see when people start copying you, but you're never told when specific people stop copying you. That's true. That's true. But I was thinking, look, so probably it's either 0 or 1. So if this friend is still on the copy, then he is. But I remember that once he stopped because I couldn't find him in the list, and then we spoke and he said, yeah, I needed to stop because of this and that. But then he said he's going to come back, but I didn't really pay attention if he came back or not. All right. But next question. How many days can you comfortably go without doing anything PI related? Probably 0. I mean, if I think that, doing research, breathing and living together with the market, keeping my finger on the pulse of the global economy and the markets, I would class this as PI related, because that's how I, research my portfolio and everything. So because of that, even if I don't do anything on eToro, sometimes days go by not even logging into eToro and keeping an eye on the numbers, because again, long game. I still almost every day at least 5-10 minutes to check in with the markets of how things are going. Okay, next question. Slightly embarrassing. Have you ever seen a ghost? Nope. I'm waiting for somebody to say, oh yeah, I've seen loads of ghosts. I'm really in touch with the spirit world. Hasn't happened yet. Okay. That's, well, I'm not making any judgments about the answer. I'll let the listener do that. Oh no, this is another embarrassing question. Who's your favorite comedian? Okay, there are a few. I guess there's no point to name Hungarian ones, because I presume most of your listeners would just be, what?
Well,
But from the English speaking ones, I really like. Okay, so he's not one of the most famous ones, but there's a guy called Aries Spears. So his first name is, I think, Aries, Aries Spears. He does incredible impersonations of rappers like LL Cool J, Snoop Dogg, even not rapper but Michael Jackson. So he's a black guy, and he did an incredible Michael Jackson impersonation years ago. It's like 10, 15 years ago. So if someone never heard about him, it's worth looking him up.
Louis C.K. is of Hungarian descent, isn't he?
I'm not sure about that. I mean, the name doesn't ring a bell.
Louis C.K.
Yeah,
He's one of the top comedians in the world, American guy.
I have to admit, when it comes to, popular culture, musicians, bands, actors, comedians, I'm probably not always on the top of my game.
That's okay.
Who is who?
Let's try and end on a more serious question. Okay. If you were to start your PI career all over again, what would you do differently?
I would probably, I consider myself to be a quite impulsive person. And it really reflects in when I post things, when I share my thoughts about a certain aspect of the market or the investing. And I think when I started it, it was like that. It was an impulsive decision let's give a shot for this whole PI thing. And I started posting content, started posting my thoughts. And it was, again, sometimes 2-3 posts a day or 4 or 5 a week, and then nothing for weeks. So if I could start over again, I would probably give it a more structured approach, a more planned. And again, I think structured is the best way to describe it, to what I post about, when, how do I evenly spread this out over the weeks or months and quarters to give my copiers and followers a better, visibility of what to expect, what's about to come, rather than being this sort of up, down, up, down.
Okay, good answer. And we're going to have to leave it there. We've run over time. Levi, great to see you again.
Same here, man. Always a pleasure.
And hopefully we can check in with you another time before too long.
It'll be awesome.